going, guys? Winner Kills here, and welcome back to a brand new episode of One Deck One Month. If you guys have not seen the previous episode, as always, I'll leave a link to it down in the description so you guys can get caught up to speed. But just to sum everything up real quick, last week I think was just nothing short of a train wreck. Not only from like a technological standpoint, because I forgot a bunch of stuff that I needed to record, but also from just a performance standpoint. We ended up going 0-3. I didn't even bother playing the last round. It was just terrible. We were down tremendous. But last night, I went to a friend's house and was able to get in some valuable testing, right? And I came to the conclusion that the overall play style of the deck does need to change, and I realized one very good core thing about the deck, and that is Mr. Number 90 himself. We need to focus a lot more around that specific card, and the way we're going to do that is to try to play a control variant of the deck. I know I might have mentioned that before as a possible option, but we're really going to give it a shot today. We're going to try more hand traps, maybe more real traps, and we're just going to try to focus on turboing out number 90 with the built-in protection that he has, the negate that he offers, and the surge power as well. So we're just going to try to play around that. And also last night it performed very well in testing. I played against Virtual World, Phantom Knight, played against Prank Hits, and a little bit of Drytron. And, as the night went on, I was slowly tweaking the build in between matches. And I noticed when I got to the more control style, the one that was just focusing on making number 90 and setting up interruptions elsewhere in the form of traps or hand traps, it just performed so much better. So today we're going to bust the deck out. We're going to re-sleeve it, but we're also going to make a few final tweaks. And we're just going to hope that it does way better this week. I really hope that it does. So let's sit down and let's get to deck building. As I'm sitting here looking at this deck, there's just one issue. And it's that, there's just not a lot of space to add other cards in. Because right now, the starter cards for the deck are 3 Wizard, 3 Soldier, 1 Thrasher, 3 Prosperity, 2 Accelerate, 1 Rhoda. And that puts us at 13 starters, which is really good for a 40 card deck. That's exactly where we want to be. But then you look to the extenders that we have, and you have cards like Vanisher, Expedition, and Trance, which has been performing very well, I might add, especially in testing. Galaxy Trance has been an absolute MVP, and that is going to stay into the deck. So, we have Vanisher, Expedition, Trance. We have to play 3 copies of Galaxy Eyes. There's no getting around that. The 1 Brave, too. This is a card that might seem cuttable, but there have been several times, actually in testing last night, where the fact that I didn't have this card in my main deck really hurt quite a bit. It's hands that basically consist of cards with Soldier, Orbital, or Vanisher, because there's, at that point, without Brave in the deck, there's no way to actively utilize those cards. Yes, you can summon them to the field, but when you have mismatching levels in a Nixie's heavy base deck, it doesn't really work out so well. Going into Soul Flare is only going to generate you so much advantage, and I'd rather be going into Blast Dragon. Because, if we can get into Blast Dragon, that means we can get Galaxy Eyes out of our hand, which means we're that much closer to establishing that number 90 that has even more protection thanks to the Blast Dragon. So we're just trying to set up that very oppressive field of in number 90, protected with the Blast Dragon and some hand traps and maybe real traps. I was also looking at Torrential Tribute too, because number 90 can't be destroyed by card effects while we have a Photon Monsters material or Photon card. So it just seems like there's already a lot of synergy there with Torrential, and Torrential is just also a really good trap too. So I might cut the Solemn Strikes out of the main deck in place of Torrential, because we're already on 6 hand traps. I decided to drop the Gammas. We're on 3 Impermanence and 3 Valor. I think those hand traps are actually really solid right now for the way the meta is. It's especially good against the Tri-Brigade deck. Imperm is just good against cards like Appaloosa, and it's also a good card to set if we need to go first. I'm looking at possibly dropping the Call by the Grave. I know that sounds a little weird, but there just isn't much room. I really do want to also try to add a second Thrasher to the main, kind of bolster that level 4 spam engine, and really take advantage of Galaxian and Blast Dragon, because again, they're just, I feel underutilized cards. And I also made some changes to the extra deck too I want to talk about. I did end up finally cutting Hippo Shinogen and I also cut the Chaos Ruler, mainly because, you know, we're not playing Gamma anymore, and I also am not playing Photon Sanctuary, interestingly enough. So that leaves me a question of whether or not I should leave the Bujinki Ahashima in. I didn't really miss it, and the Ahashima play is mainly just kind of like an overextension play. Like, yes, it can get us to number 90 sometimes, but there should be other ways to get to it without it. So I might cut the Ahashima from the extra deck, and if I do, I don't know what I'm going to put back in, because I already put back Cypher Dragon and Cypher Blade. So maybe I'll add in a second number 90, because if we're playing number 90 Turbo, we probably should have a second copy of number 90. So I think I'll do that. I think we'll drop the Ahashima for today, because we're just going to try to experiment with the control build. And I don't know, we might go over 40, but because, like, I want to say something like the consistency of this deck hasn't been bad, but so maybe we can go over 40, but then maybe, again, that's just not the best idea. But, like, I've already cut down to 2 Banisher. Like, I just don't know what else to cut. Like, there's just, like, nothing else to cut. The only cuttable cards right now I'm seeing are these 5 cards right here. So 3 Strike, the 1 Eternal Galaxy I was trying out. Also was kind of looking at Eternal Bond, because that card's like Soul Charge for Photon monsters. But the only issue with that is that we don't often end with a lot of Photon monsters in our grave. Because a lot of times, like, Galaxy Eyes would be like the best one to summon. But, you know, that's never really in our graveyard just hanging out. It's kind of always getting revived back off of something. So yeah, it's these 5 cards. So we could add in like 3 Torrential, and then maybe 2 other hand traps. I was looking at Ghost Bell, possibly Ash, very generic. So I don't know. We'll have to see. I'm going to spend a little more time here. It's only 3:30 right now, so we do have a little bit of time. I am going to be on time today, mark my words. So I'm going to continue messing with this, just kind of focus, not record anything, and we'll see where I can take it, and then I'll come to you guys with the finished result. All right, so it is just a little after 5 o'clock. I took some time to edit the deck, and I think I got to the point where I'm pretty much happy with it. I was really debating for a little while as to whether or not I should do like a real trap lineup with like Torrential and Strike, but I ultimately decided against it, and we're on 9 hand traps. Yeah, I was able to squeeze in 9 hand traps. We have 3 Valor, 3 Imperm, 3 Ash. I was debating on Droll, but we do have Droll on the side, as well as Nibiru and Lancia. So we're rocking plenty of hand traps to give us an easier time if we do have to go second. And I also added the Guardian of Order in. I'll put the deck list up on the screen over here. But I added Guardian of Order in because it just kind of helps to be like a pseudo Afterglow. Because Afterglow is a once per turn, right? So if we can get Afterglow, if we can get Guardian of Order, we can easily make rank 8s number 90 included. And we also got to add that second copy of number 90 into the extra deck. Almost forgot about that, but luckily filming this made me remember that. So I'm going to do that really quick, and then we're going to be leaving. So yeah, we got a little bit of rain today, man. I don't know what it is. I do like a nice summer rain, though. I have to admit. And it's a nice break from how, like, insanely hot it's been the past couple of weeks. But speaking of hot, our record is not. So let's go ahead and try and fix that. You like what I did there? All right. Let's go to locals. All right, we've arrived to locals. It is 6:08. Feels good to not have to rush today, that's for sure. So we're going to go in and we're going to set everything up for feature matches. I got to make a few slight tweaks to our camera rig. That's why I brought this good old super glue to get the job done. But yeah, let's head in there and just get ready. Okay, so in round 1, we ended up playing against a Dino deck, and to be totally honest, this is the last thing I was looking to play against. But either way, we luckily win the die roll, and I get started with a copy of Pot of Prosperity to add a Galaxy Wizard, then tribute that off to search a copy of Expedition, following that up with Soldier by discarding Guardian of Order. And funny enough, I think that's actually the only time I ever saw Guardian of Order the entire tournament. I then play Expedition to summon out a Galaxy-Eyes Photon Dragon from the deck, and then summon an Afterglow to go into our main game plan, number 90. And after that, I just pass turn. My opponent starts with a copy of Fossil Dig, which I let go through. He then adds Oviraptor, activates Lost World, normals Ovi to give me a token, and adds a copy of Miscellaneousaurus. He then pitches it to the grave for its effect. He follows that up by using Oviraptor to pop the token and protects with Lost World to destroy a copy of Baby. Tries to summon off a Baby, and I have the Clutch Ash for it. Needless to say, I was still feeling really good at this point, knowing I had one more monster negate and a search via number 90. I was just really hoping he didn't open the stones in terms of extenders. So, as expected, my opponent attempts to use Miscellaneousaurus. I negate it by detaching Afterglow from number 90, using Afterglow's effect to summon out Galaxy Eyes. My opponent then has a Monster Reborn to bring back my Galaxy Wizard. He uses that actually to overlay with his Oviraptor into a copy of Baguzga to try and play the slow game. So at this point, I'm feeling like, maybe I got him on the ropes and we can make a huge comeback from here. But, Baguzga is still kind of a decent card at the end of the day. He sets one card and basically hands it over to me. Realizing there really isn't much I can do here, I just go ahead and link into Soul Flare to add back Galaxy Eyes, which, could be a potential interruption later on. I go ahead and set one card and hand it back to my opponent. The standby phase, number 41, detaches for its effects. He starts by normal summoning Baby to give me another token on my field. At this point, I'm just trying to figure out how exactly I'm going to out these tokens because I don't play any generic links in my extra deck. But to my surprise, my opponent actually uses a Torrential Tribute on the normal summon of Baby and blows up everything except my tokens and number 90 because it currently can't be destroyed by card effects. So he basically gets to summon 3 dinos from the deck thanks to Lost World and that Baby that he destroyed with that Torrential. So pretty huge power play there. And among those 3 cards he summons are Oviraptor, Giant Rex, and Pancratops. Now, I tried activating permanents on the Oviraptor, but we do remember that Lost World is up and I have tokens and I can't actually target it, so I just go ahead and negate the Oviraptor instead with the number 90 as we repair the game state. From here, he activates Double Evolution Pill to bring out UCT and another Giant Rex. He then makes a copy of Dolka, and yeah, pretty much from this point on, the game is over because there is not much I'm going to be able to do to out Dolka and UCT. After he clears my board, he passes over me where I try my best to play it out by normal summoning a copy of Wizard, where I attribute it off for cost to search. He does negate that with the Dolka, and, from there I just scoop because I just don't have any more follow-ups. Certainly can't play through another Monster Gate and a Book of Eclipse, so let's go ahead and fast forward to our game 2. In game 2, of course, I decide to go first by leading with a copy of Wizard, increasing its level by 4, allowing me to follow up with a copy of Expedition, which summons out Galaxy Eyes Photon Dragon from the deck. And there I try to search with Wizard, grabbing an Afterglow. I summon the Afterglow to go ahead into a very efficient number 90. So yeah, from there I just go ahead and pass with, I believe, a few hand traps in hand. Unfortunately, my opponent starts with a copy of Imperm, rendering my number 90 basically useless, but I mean, at least I'm still able to chain the effect to search to grab a copy of Expedition for my next turn. My opponent then plays Lost World, normal summons Baby Sarasaurus, gives me a token, and then he tries to follow it up with Interrupted Kaiju Slumber, which I luckily have the Ash for. This essentially forces him to use his battle phase early to attack his token with Baby in order to trigger Lost World's effect to destroy one from deck. He destroys Petty Ranodon to summon out an Oviraptor, which adds a UCT. He then does a bunch of Dino shenanigans here, so his advantage basically just gonna like snowball from this point. He uses Ovi to pop a Baby to summon back the Petty Ranodon from the grave in order to get another summon, this time a copy of Archosaur. Archosaur is going to pop the Petty Ranodon to search Double Evolution Pill, and of course he gets another summon off the Petty Ranodon, and he goes for Pancratops, which can clear my number 90 now.
And he does attempt to do that, but I still try to negate with number 90. Even though it's negated, I can still attempt to activate it by detaching Afterglow as cost, which is important because it's going to get me Galaxy Eyes on board as a body to be able to, you know, work off of next turn, especially with that Expedition I searched earlier as well. And if he attacks with UCT, you know, I can use the Battle and Banish effect if I need to. And speaking of UCT, he does summon that out by banishing 2 Dinos. He then goes into Link Rebo and follows that up with a copy of Gold Sarcophagus to banish a Giant Rex to summon that back as well. And, you know, just like that, he's established UCT Dolka yet again. And, you know, it feels pretty bad having to stare this board down one more time. My opponent ends his turn. And I start by activating Expedition, you know, which is why I'm glad I got that Galaxy Eyes out on the board. I summon out Afterglow, and as expected, he uses UCT to book my entire field. From there, I have to make a very, very risky play, which is tributing a token and one of my set monsters to actually, like, really hard normal summon Galaxy Knight. And I try to bring back Galaxy Eyes, which of course he does negate with the Dolka. And after this point, I don't have any follow-ups, no recovery plays to make. So I go ahead and scoop, and we're starting things off fantastic with a 0-1 record. There's the Yada right there that I would like to grab. It's unlimited, but still a very nice card, and it looks gorgeous. IOC BLS 2, Diviners. Hopefully these are still here next week because we need those for our Drytron deck. And you gotta love to see the classic Egyptian gods in the case as well. So in round 2, we ended up actually playing against Prank Kids on the feature match, which I believe this duel video is already out if you guys want to go watch the full thing. I'll leave an annotation up on the top right of the screen, but we get to go first here, and we win die roll again, which feels very, very good. We start with Galaxy Soldier pitching Dragon to add Galaxy Knight. We normal summon the Knight, expecting business as usual, but our opponent actually has a copy of Ghost Bell to shut that play down. So we just move to plan B, where we link into Soul Flare to add back Galaxy Eyes, set 1, and pass it to our opponent. Pretty sure we have Impermanence set with an Ash in hand, so feeling pretty good, at least until Cosmic Cyclone is played to hit our set Imperm. From there, he starts by normal summoning green and linking into Meow. And when he tries to use a green effect, I negate it with the Ash, which turns out to be enough because after that, he just passes turn. And on my turn, I unfortunately don't have much of a follow-up to capitalize in the good spot we're in because I have Thrasher and a Cell Light in my hand. So I'm basically just forced to go into the battle phase and end my turn after that. He starts his turn by normal summoning a red, linking that into Meow, and he summons out a copy of blue. And on resolution, I go ahead and activate Soul Flare, discarding Galaxy Eyes to go ahead and pop his monster, so he can't continue to extend. And after that, he does pass. On my turn, I still can't do anything because I drew into Galaxy Expedition. So I just, again, go into battle phase, swing over the Meow for 1,000 and pass it back to him. He sets a monster and passes it back to me. I finally pick up a copy of Wizard, my saving grace at this point, so I activate its effect to increase its level by 4 to be able to activate the Expedition I had in my hand, which he does have the Ash for. But I still have a really good follow-up play. Remember how we added in that Galaxy Trance? Well, this is one of the main reasons why I really wanted to start playing it again, because we just go ahead and activate Galaxy Wizard here to search it because we already have our graveyard set up. We activate the Trance, and my opponent has another copy of Bell, so we're not getting to play much Yu-Gi-Oh here. I mean, neither of us really are, I guess, but after that, we go ahead and pass it back to our opponent. He just passes again, not being able to do much. On my turn, we draw into a Vanisher, which we do immediately summon to the field. We try to search to make sure we can fuel our Soul Flare, but he has an Ash for that as well. So I just go into the battle phase, swing into a set monster, which ended up being Adriel and Lockbird. And of course, on his turn, he rips a copy of Prank Kid's Place, which he activates to go ahead and add a copy of Blue. He normal summons Blue to link into Meow, gains 1,000, activates Place to drop all my monsters by 500, summons out Green, and from there he goes into Doodle, and Green summons out Red, and he adds a copy of Pandemonium, and after that he goes into the battle phase to run over my Soulflare Dragon, and that does it for his turn after he adds back off of Doodle, and activates a copy of Pranks to summon a token to go into Bow Wow, recycles 3 to draw 1. So he ends with Bow Wow, Green on board, and on my turn, I start by equipping the Orbital to the Vanisher I had, which I tried to use to search with, and he has a Called by the Grave, so no searching for us. And now that Vanisher has been on the field for more than a turn, we can swing into his green. It's just really not worth it at this point, so I just pick up the cards and we head into a game 2. And as you might have been able to guess, we do go first here in Game 2 after we side in some Cosmic Cyclones and some Solemn Judgments. We start with Pot of Extravagance to banish 3, revealing Rhoda, Orbital, and Afterglow. We take the Orbital, and then we activate Galaxy Soldier, pitching a Dragon. And we're going to try to go for that quick number 90 setup by adding Knight. We normal summon the Knight and attempt to bring back Dragon, and it's met with, I believe, a 3rd copy of Bell at this point. So from here, we reveal Brave in hand with Orbital to make its level 4. And here I'm basically just trying to establish Blast Dragon as a way to get Galaxy Eyes on board to be able to overlay with our Knight for a copy of 90, but he does have an Ash for my Orbital. So again, it's just plan B, link into Soulflare with Brave and another monster to add back Galaxy Eyes. And I pass my turn there. Our opponent begins with a copy of Prank Kid's Place to search Red. He normal summons the Red to link into Meow, which I stop with a Solemn Judgment, making sure he doesn't get the summon off of Red. And after that, he takes a look at my graveyard, only because he has a Monster Reborn, which he uses to bring back my Galaxy Knight. He tries to go into the battle phase, but before he leaves main phase 1, I use Soulflare to discard Galaxy Eyes to pop the Knight, putting it back into my grave, which I need, because on my turn, I link into another Soulflare to immediately add back the Knight, which I then normal summon. And luckily, this time it does resolve, 3rd time's a charm, to bring back Galaxy Eyes, allowing us access to number 90 finally. And from here, I swing with both monsters for 4,500 damage. Now, I could have quickly gone into Zeus here. Not really sure why I didn't. I guess I really was just focused on keeping the monster negate. I could have slapped a full armor on top of the number 90 and gone into a 4-material Zeus from here, but I guess I just didn't think of it. So my opponent starts on his turn by normal summoning Blue, linking into Meow, and chain blocks my number 90 with Place. In response to this, I chain number 90 to add a copy of Galaxy Eye so I can have a disruption mid-combo. So once he summons Green, I activate the Soulflare, of course, to discard Galaxy Eyes to pop his Prank Kids, hoping he doesn't have any extenders here, but unfortunately he does in the form of Pranks. Summon a token, be able to link the token and Meow into a copy of Bow Wow. After that, he goes into the battle phase to run over our Soulflare. Then he recycles 3 in the end phase with Pranks and hands it over to me, where I probably make one of the biggest mistakes I've made this entire month playing this deck. Maybe it's because I'm not used to using Zeus that much as I should. But my number 90 was currently at 2,000 attack, so it would only be able to stalemate with his Bow Wow currently. So I only had one other option at this point, which was to make full armor over top of my number 90 to be able to swing over the Bow Wow for 2,000 damage and then make Zeus as a follow-up to have 4 materials, which equals a double board wipe. And as far as I'm concerned, a double board wipe against Prank Kids can pretty much just guarantee the game. I just didn't see the move. I don't know how, but yeah, unfortunately, we didn't see it either way. So after that, I just passed, and my opponent, gets some pretty good advantage going on their turn. They start with Desires to draw 2. He then normal summons Red and links into another Meow, burns me for 5, and summons out Blue from the deck. From here, my opponent doesn't opt to extend any further, and instead he goes right into the battle phase, where I chain number 90 to search. He tries to Ash it, but we do negate it so I can secure my copy of Wizard. So we have a follow-up for next turn, assuming he doesn't kill me here. But after that, my opponent links into Doodle to grab a Pandemonium, and that does it for his turn after he sets 2 back row, one of which I know to be a copy of Pandemonium and the other unknown. Now on my turn, I get so lucky by drawing Cosmic Cyclone, or the unluckiest Cosmic Cyclone, because right now I have a 50-50 chance here in the standby phase of hitting the Pandemonium, and of course, I do not hit the Pandemonium. I end up hitting a bluff set, which was a Pot of Desire. So yeah, ultimately, not hitting the Pandemonium is what cost me the game, because he's able to go to Battle Butler to wipe my field, and I don't have any follow-ups. Otherwise, it would have been number 62 with Afterglow to secure it, allowing us to go to a Game 3, but I guess we just weren't lucky enough. So we take another 2-0 loss here in round 2, and yeah, let's see if this locals can go any better for us. All right, so round 2 is just finished. We're X2. This is going to go down in history as one of the worst months for the series, but it's completely fine because I know Drytron is on the horizon and we're going to have a much better time with that. Just one more week we have to go through this, but round 1 we played against Dino, as you guys saw, and number 90 plus Ash both times is obviously just not enough. And once he breaks my board, it's hard to play through the Dolka Conductor, so we just unfortunately just lose to those cards because we don't have a lot of board breaking cards in the main, which is, looking back, something I probably should have put in, like Dark Ruler. I don't have droplets, so Dark Ruler would have had to been our go-to card, but then we can't OTK, so it kind of defeats the purpose. I don't know. And then round 2 we just played against Prank Kids, and I still can't believe that 50-50 Cosmic is what decided. I still actually don't know if I would have been able to game him regardless there at the end, because I had 2 Galaxy Eyes engraved and I needed an extra one in deck, and I had to Expedition one out to get into Galaxy Eyes, Tribute the Wizard, Search Afterglow, go into 62, so I just didn't have the resources for it. I think the play it probably would have been go for like full armor, put everything, and then make a Zeus and just try to win that way. But yeah, it was a good match. It was close. It just sucks that it was decided by essentially a 50-50 chance whether or not I hit the Pandemonium or not. But so yeah, that's rounds 1 and 2. So I will catch up to you guys probably after the tournament is over. We just secured our second Mu Beta Fafnir, baby. Hell yeah, hell yeah. There's a ton of really cool cards in this Pokemon case, and it always catches my eye every week, but it really hurts to see a card like this Crystal Kingdra here. That is just, it's for $100, but I know it's just in terrible condition, and it hurts me inside to know that it's in such terrible shape, but still cool to see nonetheless. All right, welcome to round 4. We are actually just fresh off of a win from round 3. We'll talk a little bit more about that later, but here we are in round 4 with a good shot at trying to break even with our record tonight, and we end up playing against a pretty interesting deck here. We also win our 4th die roll in a row, which allows us to go first here, where we start off with a copy of Galaxy Soldier pitching Galaxy Eyes to go ahead and search a copy of Wizard. We then normal summon Wizard in order to activate Expedition, which summons Galaxy Eyes from the deck. We then tribute the Wizard to go ahead and search an Afterglow. And of course, we summon the Afterglow to the board in order to access our main boss monster for the time being, number 90 Galaxy Eyes Photon Lord. After that, we dig a little bit deeper into the deck, trying to find a hand trap or two by activating our Prosperity. Unfortunately, we don't find one, but we do reveal a Wizard, a Rhoda, and an Orbital. We take the Orbital, and after that, we just end our turn. To my surprise, our opponent is actually on a magical Musket deck. He starts with Starfire, activates Desperado, and attempts to pop my number 90, where I quickly remind him that he's made a mistake because he cannot be destroyed by card effects. He then follows that up by activating Pot of Desires to draw 2, which triggers his Starfire, but I do have a Veiler for it. After that, he just goes into the battle phase to clear my Soldier, enters main phase 2, where he sets 1 and passes it over to me. In the end phase, I'm sure to activate my number 90 to go ahead and grab a copy of Galaxy Transfer next turn. On my turn, we use Orbital to go grab a copy of Night, and we attempt the effect of Night, but he actually does have Dancing Needles, and for those that don't know, it's basically the magical musket equivalent of Call by the Grave, but on steroids. So we can actually just banish 3 from our grave alongside our trance target, which was the orbital. Obviously, he was going to clear the dragon, which he did. So that ended up being a huge wrench in our plans. But either way, we go ahead and just put our number 90 into attack, and we go into the battle phase, swinging over his monster with Night, and then directly for 25. After that, we end our turn, and our opponent starts with a copy of Caspar, activating Desperado to pop the Knight we had. Then he tries to activate Casper. We negate him with number 90 by detaching Afterglow to summon Galaxy Eyes. And after that, he's decided he's seen enough, so we take that game 1 very quickly, and we're on our way to a game 2. In game 2, our opponent lets us go first, to my surprise, where we get to start things off with a copy of Brave, revealing Vanisher, summoning Vanisher, search Galaxy Eyes, and it is actually met with an Ash, but luckily a Pot of Prosperity comes in clutch to allow us to find another copy of Galaxy Eyes, basically making it like our Vanisher did resolve. So we go into Blast Dragon with Vanisher and Brave. Blast Dragon summons out the Galaxy Eyes from our hand. We then normal summon Wizard, activating its effect to tribute itself off to search. We grab Afterglow, and yeah, you might be able to guess what happens next. We summon the Afterglow, and we make you know who. That's right, number 90, because we are doing nothing but turboing number 90 today. So after that, we pass our turn, and the first thing my opponent decides to do here is to go straight into the battle phase. And of course, I know this means only one thing. He then slaps down that evenly match, which may seem pretty bad here, but luckily the decision of what to banish is very, very easy because we only have 2 monsters on board. So we obviously keep the number 90. In main phase 2, our opponent normal summons a Starfire and passes. In the end phase, I go ahead and add a copy of Wizard to our hand, and then I draw a Rhoda for turn to add a Vanisher. Vanisher goes ahead and successfully adds Galaxy Eyes Photon Dragon. Then we normal summon a copy of Wizard. We search last turn to go ahead and search a Soldier. Soldier pitches Galaxy Eyes to go ahead and add a Galaxy Knight as a follow-up for next turn. We then link for Soul Flare to add back Wizard, and then we put our number 90 into attack to start swinging, and we get in for a lot of damage. After that, we just go straight ahead to the end phase and hand it over to our opponent, who starts by normal summoning Caspar and activating Cross Dominator, which will negate and 0-0 out our number 90, but we do still get off our quick effect search before it is completely useless. So we go ahead and add a copy of Galaxy Eyes Photon Dragon, ensuring that we'll still have an interruption in the form of Soul Flare Dragon. He tries to search off the Caspar, but we do have a clutch Ash for that. He then goes into the link where I do attempt to negate it with number 90 just so I can detach that Afterglow to summon out a Galaxy Eyes from hand. I was debating on, summoning it at all because I wanted to keep it for an interruption, but he wasn't doing much extension past that, so I didn't see really any reason to keep it in our hand, and I'd rather have it on the field to make our next turn a little bit easier. So after that, he goes into the battle phase and runs over our number 90 with his max. Then he goes into main phase 2 where he activates Desperado to pop Soul Flare, and he hands it over to us where we have a lot of options. We have a Galaxy Knight in hand as well as a Wizard, so I decided to start by normal summoning the Knight to bring back the Galaxy Eyes. I go ahead and overlay into a copy of Felgran, which was actually our first time summoning this card the entire tournament. And after that, I go ahead and summon Soldier by pitching Wizard to add Afterglow, summon the Afterglow to establish a second copy of number 90. From here, going to the battle phase, knowing he has another Cross Dominator, so I kind of played right into it. I'm not really sure why, but we still have Felgran to swing in over top of it. And then after that, my opponent decides, that he doesn't have much to out our Felgran, so he's going to go ahead and scoop, and we end up taking the match 2-0, completely turning our record around. We lost our first 2 matches and ended up winning out from there, so feels good, man. What a way to wrap things up. All right, round 4 just wrapped up, and the last 2 matches we played against were a really weird rogue deck. I don't really know how to describe it. I think it was like a Neos theme deck. And then we just played against Magical Muskets, actually, so that was kind of a throwback because a good friend of mine actually used to play that deck back in like 2019, so it was cool to see that deck again. But we took a very quick 2-0 win against the Neos deck. I mean, Really no surprise there. Didn't really do much. So just Afterglow, OTK, pretty much both games. Yeah, really wasn't much to see with that match. And then the last match we just played was against Musket. That was also a 2-0 win on their behalf. Number 90 is a really strong card in that matchup. The fact that it can't be destroyed by card effects threw him off quite a bit, and the one monster negate was often just enough because it got his one musket off the field. I had Ash, I think, Ash and Valor for 2 other effects that he tried to activate. I think it was a Caspar and a Starfire. So he just couldn't get his engine going ever. He did resolve the max one time, as you guys saw, but it wasn't enough. And I love how I just crashed my number 90 into his max, knowing he had the Dominator. And I don't know. I should have preemptively done it, but then it wouldn't have mattered anyways, because he would just did it on the Felgran and not the number 90. But we took it either way because he did not have the cards he needed to win, next turn. So we actually finished 2-2, which is still a bad record, but it's way better than the last 2 weeks, so we must be doing something right. The number 90 control thing, I think, worked okay. We oftentimes ended number 90 with a hand trap or 2 in hand, so it wasn't bad. It just needs a little more improvement. We'll talk more about that when we get back, but we're going to film a first place Dino deck profile. The guy I played against round 1 actually ended up getting first place, so we're going to get that profile, and then we're going to head home.
So yeah, that went way better than I was expecting it to. We'll do our little wrap-up segment here. So round 1, it was Dinos. We lost 2-0. Round 2, it was Prankids, which we did lose 2-0 thanks to that 50-50 Cosmic Cyclone that we missed. Could have took it to a game 3, I feel like, but I'm over it. Maybe. And then round 3, we played against, I don't know what it was. It was like a Neo-Spacian deck. I think the player we played against was newer to the game. Didn't have really the best cards, so that was kind of just a very swift 2-0, probably in 10 minutes. I'm not really proud of the win, obviously. It's nothing to write home about, but it was a win nonetheless. And then similar thing happened in round 4. We played against Magical Musket, and lucky for us, number 90 is just extremely oppressive in that matchup. And we were able to take that one 2-0 as well, which is really awesome. So we finished with that 2-2 record, which is some improvement over the last couple weeks, which is great. Maybe we're heading in the right direction as far as the build is concerned. And yeah, speaking of the build, overall I think it worked really, really well. I think it did what I wanted it to do, which was to turbo out number 90 and then sit on that with a few hand traps in hand. So we definitely accomplished that. It definitely worked. It didn't really have, I feel like, too many brick hands. The deck felt very, very consistent, which is great, because I always thought consistency was going to be a huge issue with this deck. But it's not consistency, it's recovery, and I'll talk more about that in a second. But a lot of decks that we played against, even Dino and Prankids, even though we lost those matchups, they still had a hard time getting through the number 90 with the negate and a hand trap or 2 like Imperm, Ash, or Valor, like the ones that we played. So there is some promise there. I think any Photon Galaxy player watching this, I think there's definitely some merit to putting time into experimenting with a Photon Galaxy control build that just kind of revolves around number 90 and hand traps. And the reason I didn't want to do real traps is because we lost die roll, which I don't think I lost any die rolls today, which is crazy. But if you lose die roll, you can still have interruptions as opposed to not having them if you have real traps. But the one main issue I still notice with this deck is it has basically no recovery. If our board gets broken and we don't have the right follow-up cards, like if we didn't get a chance to search it off number 90, or we just got hand trapped, right? The deck has no recovery. There are no graveyard effects that we can take advantage of to try to play out of the grave or come back when we're low on card advantage. The deck just does not have recovery. So anytime our board gets broken and they set up even the smallest amount of resistance, a lot of times you're left with very few cards and the one negate they might have, or the one board wipe they may have, like in something like Zeus or Conductor, like it's just always going to be enough, I'm finding out. So maybe going forward we try to main deck something like Forbidden Chalice or Dark Ruler No More, just to be able to help break boards easier, because right now we don't really have the ability to do that. And speaking of Forbidden Chalice, Contact C actually just ruins our deck. We have no way to out it. And another thing too, those Lost World tokens were such a pain, man. I couldn't really deal with them. I actually think I had to tribute the tokens away at one point for a Galaxy Night, if I remember correctly. But Lost World tokens are something else, man. But overall, it was a good experience. Excited for next week. Excited to hopefully do just as good or better. And I'm excited to not have to play this awful deck anymore. I mean, I love Photon, but it is not good. And it's not fun going X2 or X3 every week. So I can't wait to get my hands on Drytron. We'll do a one deck 1 month for it. And it's probably going to be my main deck until it's basically unplayable, because I think before Infernoble, I haven't played a meta deck like that since like 2017. And I really like playing meta, especially since my best friend Adam, he's on the deck as well. So we can bounce ideas back and forth. So I'm looking forward to that. And the testing, and not just taking L after L after L. I mean, we're doing it as a challenge, and I'm okay with that. But man, this one is tough. But we definitely made progress, and that's enough. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you want to see more of my videos, click down here on the bottom of the screen. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. And as always, we're gonna kill Sen, and I'll see you guys in the next one.
And as always, a huge shout out goes to all of the Divine Level channel members that support this channel, and they are Cadillacs84 and Pony Stark. Thank you guys for your continued and extremely generous support of this channel.